I'm sure many of us know someone, if not you, who's felt uncomfortable talking about religion and money or just have feelings of shame or guilt about it. Welcome to Yahweh's Money, a podcast where we discuss the crossroads or intersections of religion and money. We're going to go deep into topics like tithing and saving and debt and so much more from the religious view. I'm your host, Shay Cook, CEO and founder, Crusaders for Change, LLC, and our co-host is Vanessa McNelly, one of our financial counselor, coach, educators. Let's talk about God and money. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Yahweh's Money. I am Shay Cook, one of your co-hosts, and Vanessa is also here. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Shay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about this episode because we're going to be talking about gifts of gratitude, just kind of wrapping up and talking about what we've been grateful for in 2022 and going into 2023 and beyond and all what we're grateful for. And I'm excited to talk about that.
Me too.
So what are you most grateful for this year, Vanessa?
This is such a hard question.
Mm.
I will tell you that I am very blessed in my life and there is a lot to be thankful for. But when I was really reflecting on this, the first thing that came to my mind was this is the first full year, that I have lived in the same state as my family
Oh,
since
wow.
literally I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Which is insanity. So
Yeah.
I am very thankful to be close to my family again. Like I'm still
Aw.
a few hours away, but
Yeah.
it's nice to know that I can always go home. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I'm just thankful for the closeness
That
and
is
being able to be a part
awesome.
of things. Yeah.
And look at here, I'm thinking of like, oh, I'm thankful for persistence and perseverance and God's grace. Some lame
No, those
answer.
are good things. We need those things.
And I'm thankful for hopefully in 2023, my ultimate goal is peace. Just peace, PEACE,
World
like
peace.
world
World
peace,
peace.
Maryland peace, United States peace, family peace, business peace, self inner peace. Like I just want peace. Every time somebody asks me, "What do you want for birthday? What do you want for Christmas?" Peace. Are you serious, Shay? Yes. Like that's all I want. I just need peace, and I am grateful for the persistence and the perseverance and God's grace to hopefully get us to peace because we
Yeah.
really need it these days. But of course, I'm thankful for family and friends and C4C team, Crusaders for Change team, and all of the amazing guests we had this year in our first year since May 5th introduction of Yahweh's Money and all the amazing guests we've had. And yeah, it's been a good year, but it's been crazy too. So, yeah.
Crazy's good sometimes.
Sometimes it's good. Yeah, it's kind of tiring sometimes, but it's good. And in Ephesians 5:20 it says, "Always give thanks to God the Father for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ." Thanking God not just for your
Yeah.
problems, but for the strength He's building in you through difficult experiences in your life. So that's the great reminder that whatever you've gone through in 2022, or even starting with the pandemic in 2020 or before that, during that, or after that, those problems are really building up that perseverance and that strength in you to get through those experiences and to just give thanks. And so
Yeah.
that is great. And even in James 1:17, I love James. So chapter 1 and verse 17, every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. So God, goodness equal light equals God. And I love that. So I'm thankful
That
for the
is.
light.
Yeah. Yeah. And looking back at the first verse in Ephesians, so this is kind of a personal story, but
Mm.
with all this, so my mother passed away about 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we just had the anniversary of her death the other
Oh,
day.
wow.
And something that I always do is I try to take that bad experience and
Mm-hmm.
something that I would not wish on anyone
Nobody.
and
Yes.
change it into something good.
Mm.
And every year, I do this thing where on that day, I try to do something nice for somebody I don't know.
Mm. I
And
love
it's
it.
like you try to take that day that's a sad, sad day and make
Mm-hmm.
something good of it. And the coolest thing has happened over the years. My friends do it too. And they'll text me and say, "Hey, I just bought clothes for, a single mom that can't really
Mm.
afford things for her kids for Christmas, or, I bought a meal for somebody." But being able to see the goodness in the dark and be thankful for that, that is such a gift in itself, you know?
That is so beautiful. And because her light, her energy, her life still lives on and through you and your brother. Yvonne has taught me a lot in the year or so that I've known you. Through you, I've learned stuff through your mother, from your
Yeah.
mother. And
Yeah.
so I just want to honor her in this moment because her life, even though she's not here in the physical, spiritually, she is still here and she resonates through you in our conversations. And of course, there's your father and your grandfather, grandmother, aunt, and uncles, all that, everybody. But
Yeah.
why Vaughn? I'm telling you, I feel like I know her just a little bit, and she's taught me some lessons,
Yeah.
and I've never met her, and I'm just thankful that she gave birth to you.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, Wyvern was a pretty cool chick.
She
So
sounds like she was amazing.
but she through all that, like I said, just that darkness, so many good things have come out of that. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we forget about that. We
Hmm.
forget about the good things that we're still thankful for, even in those sad times. So
Exactly. The good things that people that have left this physical earth, but again, that are here spiritually, have
yeah.
imprinted on us. I have an aunt who died back in 2001, right before 9/11. My daughter was only like 10 months old or younger. And I mean, my aunt Julia, as you know, because your dog's
Mm-hmm.
named Julia,
Yep.
was an amazing influence on my life. And she still lives on in me. And so does my grandmother and grandparents stuff. But she's just one of those women that really affected me and positively has I am reminded of her in the light. And it still
Mm-hmm.
shines
Yeah.
even though she left us years and years ago. But so it's just amazing those people that were here, those people that are still here, the
Mm-hmm.
light that God has shined on us, the goodness that they bring is truly amazing.
Yeah. And that's something I can only hope for in my own life, that
Mm,
when I'm not here, that's what I'm remembered for.
yeah.
That should be all of our goals.
It
Is to be
really
one of those
should
lights.
be.
Mhm.
Well, I'm
Mhm.
here to say that your goodness and light will always shine no matter where you are. So you have influenced my life. So has Adriana
Oh.
Lopez, who's our producer. I have to point her out because her light is super
Mhm.
bright.
I agree.
So today we're also going to reflect back on some of our favorite episodes that made an impact. So we have my favorite episode, Vanessa's favorite episode, and also Adriana's favorite episode. So we're going to play those and talk about them briefly. But we're going to start with a soundbite of one of our first episodes, which is my favorite, episode number 3, Tithing 10% Time or Talent with Reverend Tull, my father. So let's have a listen.
So how do we become pleasing with God? It's not just with tithing, but it's also with helping, with giving, with sharing, with all these other things. So don't get hung up on that percentage. Get hung up on God.
I love that because that's my father, Reverend Mitchell Tall. He's don't get hung up on tithing, get hung up on God. And why that had an impact on me is because it's my father. He's an amazing preacher. But also, I just recently told him that, we were coming up with these clips, and I said, that's a lesson not just for tithing, that's for everything. Let's not get hung up on worry, on anxiety, which I suffer from, unfortunately, depression, sadness, any of those emotions. Let's not get hung up on that. Let's get hung up on God because God is here to provide, to protect, to love, give grace and mercy every single day. So I'm preaching to myself right here in this moment, but I get hung up on those emotions and on life and on people that don't do nothing for me. And I need to be getting hung up on God, okay? So I told my dad that. He's like, yeah, Shay. He always says that. So I was just like really excited to be like, don't get hung up on that, Shay. Get hung up on God. So that's just a constant reminder to me that that's what we need to do. Sorry.
Well, no, and that was such a good clip too. And I remember that conversation so well because I think one of those things we're always taught 10%, 10%, 10%.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was telling us is it'll come. It comes
Mm-hmm.
with just being a good person and doing these things and giving of yourself. That 10% will be there. Plus some,
Exactly. And
and
plus
that's
some.
yeah, yeah. And I think that was such a good reminder that it's more than the 10%. It's giving
Mm.
of ourselves, giving of our time, our talents, everything that we can do to put that in there. And that 10% is going to be there. So I
Yeah,
loved
and
that
so
as
many
well.
people do get hung up on the 10%. And as we
Hmm.
talked in that episode and many episodes after that, or even before that, was, when we're helping our clients and people are like, I got to have that 10%.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you can't eat. You can't afford to feed your family. So
Exactly.
eventually you can get to that 10%. You just start slowly, but you need to take care of yourself, pay
Right.
yourself first and necessities, and then
Yeah.
maybe just give 5%. And you know what? You might get to 10%, which I'm a witness. I'm actually have had happened to me before where I got to 10+% of giving in tithes. And unfortunately, things changed and I had to go back to 5. And I remember, or less, and I remember telling my dad that, like, Dad, I was really proud of,
Mhm.
contributing 10% or more to the church. But then my daughter had to go to college. And I'm just going to get real in
Yeah.
this moment. I mean, and so we didn't want to get her student loans, and we were like, we're going to pay for this outright. And so we, as a couple, my husband and I said, we're going to pay for Alana to go to college. And I didn't really have any disposable income other than my tithes. And so
Right.
I called my dad. I was like, okay, I do so much more for the church and the community and for people outside.
Mhm.
So, and I just was kind of using that as a reason why. But he's like, Shay, it's okay. If God gave it to you, you provide, and you've been doing this, you'll be able to take care of your daughter. So for maybe 6 to 12 months, I cut back on my tithes to help pay for my daughter's college. And guess what? A year or two in, I was making more to be able to contribute more. So I'm back to
Right.
being able to do more than 10% and still provide for my daughter. So sometimes you have to do that sacrifice. And what they say, obedience is more than sacrifice. So I was obeying
Mhm.
God because he's like, Shay, I gave it to you. Don't feel bad about having to cut back temporarily. As long as you're still here to submit to me and obey me, that's more important than a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so that's what I had to do. And it felt
yeah.
good that I was able to eventually get back to being able to contribute that 10% or more.
And you do so many things outside that
I
10%,
do.
Shay. I mean, that's I think if you add them all up, it's way over that 10% mark.
It
So
is, but it's like you said, don't get
it's
hung up
hard.
with the
Yeah,
10%,
it's
but
hard.
I do. I'm human. So our next favorite from Vanessa is episode 4, Giving with Glee. What is a cheerful giver, with Reverend Ledford, which is her aunt. And so let's play that, and then we can explain, or Vanessa can explain why it's her favorite.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes God uses giving as an opportunity for us to learn some lessons as well. I know I have felt at times God leading me to give in ways that, and I consider myself to be a generous person and I give in a lot of ways, but sometimes it's hard when you have a relationship that perhaps is not where you want it to be.
So why was that your favorite?
Yeah. So I love first off that we both have clips of family. And I think
Yeah.
number one, it's awesome to have these conversations with somebody that we spend so much time with and we're related to. To be able
Hmm.
to open up and have these conversations about money and religion, with people that, are in our families. It's such a blessing, number
Such a
one.
blessing. Yes.
And number two, I love this because I think sometimes we judge people based
Mm.
off of what they think their needs and wants are. And it's so hard. And I struggle with this so much that sometimes, we feel the need to give or we want to give, but we don't like how that person is utilizing the money or, we see them with, a nice car or buying groceries that we wouldn't buy or whatever, and we're helping. And I think it's that judgment thing
Mm.
that is not our place to judge. If we give, we're supposed to give freely. And, we're giving from a place of love, but sometimes that can get twisted in our own heads and our own minds. And it's just to let go of that, let it
Mm.
be. If you feel the urge or the need to give, give. There's a reason you're feeling that. And
Exactly.
do it, with a happy heart and a happy spirit. And whatever happens after it leaves your hands, that's not up to you. That's
It's
up to
not
God
up to
too.
you. Yeah.
So just being able to do it and not feel guilty or judgment or sometimes we throw shade with all these things like, well, I had to help with blah 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 last month, why are you going out for a steak dinner or whatever it might
Exactly.
be. We judge, and it's not our place to
Not our
judge.
place.
So it's just one of those things. Still give when you feel like it's your place to give. I think that's the big thing about it is we know when it's right for us. We
Yeah.
feel it. We all feel when we need to give. and just do it with a happy heart no matter what happens
Mm.
after that. So even if it's some way that we're not comfortable giving or we've not done
Mm-hmm.
that before, there's a reason we're feeling that, you know?
Yeah, so
So
true.
yeah, it's that to me that was just so inspiring to know that I'm not the only person who struggles with that. We all
Exactly.
struggle that way.
We all struggle, right? No matter what level
Mhm.
you are in religion or, relationship you have with Christ or your God, or, it's just, we all struggle with that. We are human first. And it seems to be that we are more drawn towards the negative or the judgment and stuff than we are the positive. But being that cheerful giver and just giving with, like you said, your heart's in the right place, whatever happens
Yeah.
afterwards, once you release it, it's out of your
Mhm.
control. Don't
Exactly.
get hung up on what them people are doing. Get hung up on what you're doing for God, people. We can use that throughout this whole episode. So,
I agree. Totally, totally,
because
totally.
you're
So,
right. I'll give money to people. And I'm like, I didn't tell you, I didn't give you that money to go buy some,
yeah.
a fish tank. Or,
Right?
man, I'm about to
Right?
use some real life examples. But,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Growing up, my parents were such good examples of this, with giving and not judging. Because I know so many people my dad would give, $5 to or $10 to or whatever. I mean, there was even a time we were on vacation and the house we were at had a garage, and my dad let some dude we didn't know stay in the garage
Oh,
because he
wow.
didn't because he didn't have a place to be and it was raining.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad used to always say, like, whatever they need to get through that day with that money that I'm giving, that's up to them. Like,
Yep.
if they need a cigarette or if they need a beer, whatever it is, he's like, that's not my place to judge.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's so many of us who say, oh, well, that person's just going to use the money for this or that or the
Mm-hmm.
other. But you know what? That's okay. That's not for us to decide. We just
Exactly.
give when we're supposed to give and how we're supposed to give. And that's all we have control over.
That's all we
So,
have control over. Amen. And our next and final clip favorite from this year is Adriana's favorite episode from Debt to Destiny, episode 15. So let's play that and talk about it on the other side.
We're harder, like you said, on ourselves than anybody else, and we need to forgive ourselves. And forgiveness is key.
Yeah, and that's basically, she felt like that was a personal experience, that forgiveness is key, but it's also liberating, and there's no need to carry that weight. And I agree. It's so hard for us to show ourselves mercy and grace and forgiveness. God gives us that automatically for nothing. Like, we don't have to do anything. He's still going to do that. And here we are, we're
mhm.
so brutal and hard on ourselves and not forgiving ourselves, whether we're in debt, we got bad credit, whatever the situation may be with money or personal relationships, we're so hard on ourselves, and we need to be able to forgive ourselves.
Totally. And it's one of those things. I think some of us struggle with it more than others. When we beat ourselves up harder than anybody
Mm-hmm.
else could ever do, or we're harder on ourselves than we are any of our friends or family. It's like if they
Yeah.
would have made the same mistake, we would treat them with such kindness and
Exactly.
grace. you know and it's like we need to have that with ourselves too, because we're human. And I totally agree, it's so hard. And if we can forgive ourselves and give ourselves that moment of, hey, I'm human and this is what happens, but I'm going to learn from that, that's going to go so much further, and we're going to
I
not
love
make
that,
those
Vanessa,
mistakes
because I
again.
was just thinking, if I gave myself as much forgiveness and grace that I give my husband and my daughter, oh my God. Like, I give them so much grace and forgiveness. And they probably wouldn't, like, no, you don't. Like, yes, I do. Just like, if I gave myself just an ounce of that, I would probably be a happier person,
Right.
and just, yeah, in a different state of mind,
Yeah.
because I'm so hard on myself. And so many coaches and counselors and therapists and chaplains have told me, that mentors, you're so hard on yourself. I'm like, I
Mhm.
know. But you're just trying to do whatever you are and not trying to be perfect, but excel at
Right.
certain things. And you make a little mistake, you're like, oh my God. And it's just so hard.
Well, and we expect better. We
Mm-hmm.
expect better from ourselves, I think, too,
Yeah.
especially with what we do for a living. We expect better of ourselves than other people, and we forget, okay, we're human. We're normal people who, just happen to do
Yeah.
this for a job or whatever it is when it comes to money. But I mean, I do some stupid things sometimes with money.
Who doesn't, though?
Um, But I am
Yeah.
so hard on myself about it. And it's like if it was a client or a friend, I'd be like, you know what? We
Yeah.
can't go backwards. Let's just
That
move
is so true,
forward, you
especially
know?
me financially, because this is what I feel like I know that I'm an expert in. I'm trying to
Yeah.
obtain, or not
Mm-hmm.
obtain anymore. At one time it was obtain perfect credit score, maintain now perfect credit score, not have a lot of debt, and make sure that I'm, investing appropriately. And even though I have no control over the market, and it sucks right now, and just make sure I make the right decisions and all that good stuff. It's hard sometimes. It's like, oh my God, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be,
Yeah.
because I personally do
Yeah.
not want to counsel or coach anybody and not be in good
Yep.
standing. I know there's doctors
Exactly.
out there that are unhealthy,
Exactly.
or all these different examples people give, like people don't follow
Yeah.
what they preach. I have never been that person.
Right.
If I'm going to preach this to you, counsel
Mm-hmm.
you, or coach you, I want to make sure I'm on the other
Yep.
side of right, on the right side of right. On the other side, I want to be right. I want to know exactly what the hell I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about. And I just don't want to be that person. And so, which I know there's a lot of people out there. I've met
Yeah.
financial counselors that are horrible at managing their own finances. And I'm like, why? You teach us stuff every day. So that's me personally. I know, Vanessa, you're the same way. So,
Well, yeah, because that's one thing I always say is I will not ask a client to
exactly.
do something I wouldn't do
Yeah.
myself. And I even do these crazy things sometimes where, I go on extreme like grocery budgets just to make sure
Exactly.
I can do it so I can say, hey,
Exactly.
you can do it too. uh, yeah, but I think that's what makes us,
Mm,
good at what we do too, because we've been there and
it's,
we've tried it and we've lived through it and we've come out the other side
it's
and we're like,
okay.
hey, it's okay.
I'm not going to ask you to
Yeah, but we
sacrifice,
need to.
and do what you have to
Right.
do to get to
Mm-hmm.
from A to Z if I haven't done it, you know? So I feel the
Exactly.
same way, because I can speak
Exactly.
from experience, but I can also can tell you, it's
Mm-hmm.
you can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it too. And I'm not lying. I have done it. I can't stand when people lie about that. I'm like, if you can do it, I can do it too. You ain't never lost
Mm-hmm.
that weight, or you still eat them cheeseburgers. Don't get out of my face. Just like,
It's like, well, I've lost 2 pounds in the last, 14 years because I'm a perfect size zero.
no,
It's like, no,
exactly.
get
You
away.
had surgery,
Go
by the
away
way,
from
so you
me.
didn't really lose it that way. So I was gonna call out some people that are on a reality show, but I'm not gonna say their names, because they're like, "Oh my god, there's no way I can look like you. What are you talking about?" But anyways. So to wrap up this episode, we have a really cool mashup. Thanks to Adriana and Juan Lopez for putting this together, and we'll talk about it a little bit and wrap up. But I love it. Here we go.
What it means is that everything you do is supposed to be for the glory of God.
We get favor from God because we're keeping the atmosphere of praise around God. We're keeping God within all our spectrum.
You have to go back, and everything we do ultimately is for God.
Mm-hmm.
But my personal belief is that it's all God's money to begin with, and He just allows us to manage it.
Well, don't forget to give back to God because He's the one that gave that money to you.
Trusting God's timing. A delay is not a denial. And just seeking that it's His time and not ours.
And we have to recognize that all of what we have comes from God, and we're really then just stewards of any of it.
If we're asked by God to be righteous with the wealth that comes from Him, we owe ourselves that righteousness.
Let go and let God.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
agree.
I recently
I
got a
agree.
bracelet that said, let that sugar honey iced tea go, ish go. But to me, it's like, yeah, let go and let God, and don't get hung up on God, on anything but God. So I think if you don't learn anything else from this episode, those are two things you could take away. Let it go, and let God, and don't get hung up on anything but God. So that was great.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think, like I said, the whole forgiveness
Mm-hmm.
part comes back out with that as well. And we need to just
Yeah,
forgive and let go. And and it's okay. It's okay to do that. You're going to be a much happier
exactly.
person for it.
And this is our last episode of 2022. I mean, I'm excited what we did with this podcast and where we're going, and it's going to get even better and amazing through next year and the year after, and hopefully, however long God wants us to do it. But how you feeling right now about that?
I'm excited. I can't believe we're a year in.
Yeah.
First season done, check mark. And I'm super excited to be on this journey and kind of see what
Yeah.
happens from here on out. So I'm glad to be along on this journey. So
Well,
thank you
thank
for
you
having
for
me
being
here.
a part of this journey. Our season actually continues into 2023, but we're excited for new episodes coming and more to follow about that. Just to continue to follow us and tune in to current and future episodes on Yahweh's Money, wherever podcasts are found, including Apple, Google, and Spotify. Thank you for joining us. We're so grateful for our audience and those that are continuing to listen to us. Please share, and so we can get more followers and listeners. We so appreciate that. And remember, it's always better Yahweh's way. Thank you for listening to this episode of Yahweh's Money. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the crossroads of religion and money. If you have any questions or suggestions of topics you would like to hear us tackle, please email us at yahweh@crusaders4change.org. Also, we would love to hear your feedback on today's episode, so please leave us a review and remember to subscribe to our podcast. To hear all of Yahweh's Money's latest episodes, please visit us at www.crusaders4change.org or wherever podcasts are found. God bless.